Hey everyone, I am going to come to you today with a little bit of a more serious topic than what I would normally talk about. I mean, granted, if you follow my channel, you know that I talk about my gastric bypass journey, which is a pretty serious topic, but this is on a different level of seriousness. So what I want to talk about is, and I've mentioned this a couple times on my videos, dealing with depression. And especially this time of year around the holidays, we're a week away from Christmas. And for a lot of people, depression, me for example, I don't have like seasonal depression. I don't deal with like holiday depression, things like that. Mine is more just chemicals, like the chemicals go up, the chemicals go down, and you just kind of have to try to deal with that. For other people though, it may be seasonal, or it may be linked to like a holiday or a date. And Christmas time, Hanukkah, whatever it is that you might celebrate this time of year, tends to be a time where we think of family a lot, and that can be a little bit triggersome for people with depression, because you might be dealing with family issues that exacerbate, you may have a little bit of depression or a little bit of anxiety, but the pressure this time of year to buy presents, and maybe you're missing a loved one, and just bills and just everything, and maybe you have a bad relationship with someone in your family or everyone in your family. It can be a very, very stressful time of year. So what I want to talk about is maybe some symptoms of depression, because there are some things that you may not realize actually fall under the umbrella of depression. And some ways that I have found to help, as I say in all of my videos, I am not a medical professional. I'm only a person that's on a journey hoping to share some of my stuff with you. Okay, so these are just general symptoms of depression that I'm going to bring out. These are not all the symptoms of depression, and you may not deal with any of these. A big one that you may not realize is actually depression, or maybe a little bit of anxiety mixed in, is anger. You may just have this pit or this ball of anger inside of you, and you don't really know why, because you're not particularly angry at any person or thing, or maybe it's stuff that normally irritates you, but today it just really pisses you off. Here's the thing: when you have depression, sometimes, we have that layer of protectiveness over our skin. I'm giving you a visual here. Maybe this will help. And with depression, it kind of wears and wears and wears on that until this is so tender and so raw that just a little scratch and you're like, ah! So that's where the anger's coming from, because you kind of like have no way of dealing with it, and you're like, ah! And so it may come out as anger. I had no idea that that was a symptom of depression. I thought it was just, okay, sometimes I'm a real bitch. But no, it's a symptom of depression. And if my camera's moving, it's because there's a cat behind it. So another symptom that you may not realize is lack of enthusiasm for doing pretty much anything in your life. Now, I have a whole pile of laundry behind me that needs to be done, but that has nothing to do with my depression. It's because I just pulled it out of the dryer. Those of you that deal with depression know exactly what I'm talking about. You may not want to wash your dishes. You may not want to wash your hair. You may not want to pay your bills. You may not want to read a book. You don't want to do anything. Maybe you want to sleep all the time, because at least with sleep, you don't have to deal with the whole, oh, I'm so depressed, I can't stand it. And you just don't have the energy or the ambition to really do much of anything. And when you try to do things, with depression, sometimes your cognitive functions kind of slow down. So you may not be able, or you may not feel as sharp as you normally do. Like, you may sit there and think, okay, I need to call this person, but I can't remember their phone number. And this person's had the same phone number for 10 years. Why can't I remember their phone number? That's depression. It's slowing down your thought processes and things like that. You're not dumb. Depression's just taking its hold on you. I had to drop out of college for a semester because I studied for my exams. I swear to you, I was up until like 2 o'clock in the morning, then back up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was studying, and I could not hold the information in my head no matter how badly I tried. And for me, this was a time when I was coming off of one medication and trying a new medication. So, you know, it wasn't just the depression, it was other things. But, you know, it sucked, to put it lightly. There are more serious things that can happen with depression. Like, you may feel suicidal. Okay, if you are feeling suicidal, don't beat yourself up for it. Because sometimes our minds are grasping for a way to deal with shit, and the only way that you can think of to deal with it is to end things. Don't do it. Do not. Please, if you are listening to this and you are depressed, don't do it. That's easy for me to say, right? Not really. I dealt with that, and it makes me nervous to kind of talk about that because there's such a stigma related to mental illness. But I finally got to the point where I could realize I'm not having these thoughts because I want to die. I'm having these thoughts because I'm severely overwhelmed. My chemicals maybe were out of whack. It wasn't that I wanted to die. It was just the only way that I could think of to deal with it. And I knew that I would never do it because, you know, I had family, I had kids, you know, I had a job, I had, you know, there were a lot of things that kept me holding on, and even those sometimes were not enough, so I had to rely on myself to say, you can do this. You need to reach out for help. You need to talk to your doctor, you know, and it was a lot of self-talk, I'll just put it that way. But the great news is, I worked through all that. I have not had suicidal feelings in probably 5 years. And that's because of a lot of counseling, a lot of self-work. But I wasn't ready for it before then. When I was ready for it, I was receptive to it, and I was able to work on myself. So there's that. There may be the thought of harming yourself or others. Not just suicidal, but, you know, you may be to the point where you look at people and you really envision wanting to punch them in the face or ram your car into theirs when you're driving. And that kind of goes back to the anger thing. So you might have all of this, but then there's like another layer of hell with depression where you feel nothing. You don't feel happy. You don't feel sad. You don't feel excited. You don't feel underwhelmed. You don't feel anything. Like, people are talking to you and you know you're supposed to smile and you're supposed to laugh. And so you do, but you're not, in your heart, you're not there. That is scary. And for those of you that have suffered with depression and anxiety, you know what I'm talking about. You have probably been there. And that's actually a defense mechanism that our brain has where we just kind of step back from everything. And sometimes our brains just need that. And it's unfortunate and it's scary and it's not fun. So those are some of the symptoms. There's a whole range. There's insomnia. There's overeating, which might, you know, I hate to say this because this is a weight loss surgery channel, but a lot of people in the weight loss surgery community have some type, and I don't want to say a lot, I don't know the numbers. I would guess, as sort of an educated guess, that a lot of people in the weight loss surgery community have or are currently dealing with some level of depression or anxiety. And so that's where a lot of the overeating comes from, especially with anxiety. And y'all say hi to Luna. There's a lot to depression that it would take me probably a 60-minute video to go over all of the symptoms. What I will do is I will put some links down below for you to check out, and you know, you may learn something about yourself from these links and go, oh man, maybe I'm dealing with a little bit of depression, or maybe I'm dealing with a lot of bit of depression. So not just depression on a chemical level, but depression on a situational level can happen as well. And I kind of wanted to separate that from, you know, the chemical depression, because I believe that there's definitely situational depression that really hits this time of year. And go over a list. I haven't written anything down. This is all kind of off the top of my head. So if you want to add anything down below, feel free. Money. This time of year, money is a huge factor, especially if you have kids and you're trying to provide for Christmas. I've spent Christmas Eve crying, because I'm like, I really couldn't do what I wanted to do for my kids this year. And, you know, just as a single parent, sometimes financially it really hits you. Let me tell you something though. Your kids do not give a flip how much is under that tree. What they care about is you. The best gift that you can give them is to have a healthy you. So, you know, if that means taking care of you emotionally, physically, whatever you need to do, don't worry about what's going under that tree. I mean, you know, unless you have teenagers and they're little jerks sometimes, and they'll be like, is this it? And then you deal with that. But, don't stress that so much. And you're probably like, that's easy for you to say. No, because I was there. I had to rely on people to help me out for Christmases for a short while I was getting on my feet after a divorce and all that kind of stuff. So I've been there. Maybe it's bills. That's one of those things that definitely, I don't care who you are. At some point, you're depressed because you have a shitload of bills and you're just really stressed out about how in the world you're going to pay all that. And I have to adjust this because the little thing I'm using to hold it up is not, I don't know if y'all can see the camera moving, but anyways, I'll try to ignore that. Maybe you lost a loved one this year or recently, and when Christmas hits and you don't have that loved one around anymore, that can really suck. And I can remember the first year after we lost my grandmother, that was really rough. I mean, none of us were really feeling Christmas because she was the matriarch of our family. So we didn't have our matriarch, and it really sucked. Or maybe you're going through a divorce. That can be very depressing. You know, that's a situation that may make you feel like really crappy. Maybe you're going through a health issue. Maybe you have family members going through a health issue. These are all things that, you know, of course are situational. It doesn't make them any better or any worse, because depression is depression and it sucks. But my whole point of bringing all of this up is that you may be going through this stuff and not even realize that you're depressed because you're in survival mode. Take care of yourself. Please, please. The best thing that you can do for yourself and everyone around you is to take care of yourself. This video is getting kind of long, so, and I don't want to be too incredibly preachy, but I do want to go over a couple of things that have helped me. As far as, you know, it's not a cure-all, but these are things that have helped. Medication. I am a person that says if you need medication, take it. I was on Zoloft for many years, and it was a wonderful medication. Wonderful. When I got pregnant with my son, which he was kind of like an oops baby, the best oops baby in the world, but, you know, he wasn't expected, so I had to go off of Zoloft. And by the time I was ready to go back on medication, there was a new one out that was for fibromyalgia and depression, and that was Cymbalta. So I've been on Cymbalta for many years, and it's a difference between night and day for me. My depression and anxiety are chemically based, so, you know, you treat it how it needs to be treated. Another thing that really helps me is yoga, and the first time somebody mentioned yoga to me, I was like, sure, yoga, that's really going to do a whole lot. And then I tried it, and I didn't really love it at first because I had gotten, it was like a yoga, now this dating me, it was a yoga DVD, and it was like super fast paced, and I felt really awkward. But at the very end, they do this like slow down thing where you kind of lay and you listen to your breathing, and you know, that part I liked. So I would like fast forward to the last 5 minutes with the cool down, and I'd do the cool down, which led me into meditation. Okay, another one that if anybody had told me to do meditation, I would have been like, this new agey shit, really? It works. Dude, it totally works. When I have insomnia, I do these meditation exercises that you can actually go on YouTube and type in sleep meditation exercises, I think is what they're called, or sleep meditation, something like that. And it's kind of talks you through meditating. So, you know, if you're laying in bed, you got your phone next to you, your earbuds in, you may not make it through that whole like 30-minute long thing because you might fall asleep. And then again, it may not work. It doesn't work every night for me when I do those, when I'm having a little bit of insomnia. But it's still relaxing, and it feels good, and it kind of helps you release some of that tension, and, you know, I don't know, it works. Another thing that I do is journal. Here's the thing that I notice with journaling. As I'm writing stuff, I'm processing through my thoughts, and even though these thoughts have been bouncing around in my head all day long, I'm finally getting them out in a way that's like, okay, this kind of makes sense. I can kind of see, and I can read it back, and I'm like, okay, I wrote this. You know, let me delve into that a little bit more in my head. It's kind of like getting feedback from yourself, if that makes any sense. And you may write, and you may just put it down, and then the next day go back and look at it and go, okay, maybe I overreacted a little bit, or maybe I underreacted a little bit. You know, it's kind of helps you explore yourself. I sound so new agey, don't I? Oh, if y'all hear my washing machine in the background, I'm sorry. I have to wash laundry. If you could see my pile of laundry right now, you would be like, oh, girl. What else? Where was I? Oh, things that you can do to help with depression. The number one thing that I have found, and, well, let me just say it. If I'm in my feelings and just kind of like feeling tumultuous and, you know, just, I'm like, I have just so much inside and I need to get it out, I go for a really fast walk. And it's not for exercise at all. I mean, I probably don't even put on my little wannabe Fitbit thing. I throw on my shoes, I throw on my coat, and I go out my front door and I walk. And I walk fast, and in my head I'm like, that person did this, and I'm so mad, and I wish that they were clean their room, and and you know, sometimes my daughter will walk with me, and we'll just back and forth to each other, But there's something about getting that blood going and, you know, kind of getting your body going. There's like, I know I've read this somewhere and I couldn't tell you exactly the terminology, but it's like it helps with the endorphins. So maybe walking is not going to be your thing. Maybe it's going to be punching your bed, or maybe it's going to be going for a swim if you're lucky enough to live where it's warm and you can swim all year. Maybe it's going to be crafting, something that you can get kind of lost in. Find something that makes it a little better. None of this is going to make everything okay. There are things that you can do to make it better. And maybe the only thing that you can do today, because you're feeling so depressed, is to get up and go brush your teeth. Do it. Just do it. Just go, get up and brush your teeth. And then lay back in bed and let your mind relax. But do something so that you're not falling further and further and further and further into that hole, because it's very easy to do. Last but not least, I want to say reach out to some type of help, whether it's family, friends, a counselor, a doctor, especially if you are feeling suicidal. Talk to somebody. Don't be scared. Talk to someone you trust, of course. But sometimes just putting that out there in the world will make you feel like, okay, I'm not doing this alone. Because depression can be a very lonely thing. But share that with someone. If you are in crisis, go to the ER. I'm dead serious. Go to the ER. You don't even have to say anything. Write a letter. I am in crisis. I am feeling suicidal, or I am feeling very depressed. I need help. Hand that to whoever is your intake person at the ER, and they will take care of you. But do something healthy. Don't, like, you know, grab a crack pipe or anything. And I'm not even saying that to be funny, because a lot of people dealing with mental illness do things that are unhealthy for them. So I want to end this today by saying, if you need to talk down here. Talk to me in my DMs. If you have me on Instagram, DM me on Instagram. I don't always answer DMs on Instagram just because there's a lot of freaks out there. But, you know, if you, like, make your tagline, I need to talk or I need help, then I'm going to open it and I'm going to talk to you. Show some love and support to people down in the comments. If someone's talking in the comments, please be aware, because I have been trained in this, that if I feel like, if you are in the comments and you are saying, I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to go the extra steps and make sure that you get help. I worked as a moderator for a very large parenting website, so I'm trained in it. However, please don't troll these comments and say things that just are not going to be helpful. I really want this to be a helpful, nurturing comment section for people right now, especially around Christmas, where, you know, dealing with these type of things can really be prevalent. All right, I love you all. You are all awesome. You are all strong. You are all beautiful, wonderful people. And if you ever need to hear me say that again, just tell me, because I will tell you that you are a beautiful, wonderful person. And don't let depression get you. Don't let it win. All right. Love you guys. Bye.